When the whole family comes together to watch the game, nobody wants to miss a second of the action to run to the grocery store. With Instacart, you can get all your weekly groceries in as fast as an hour. Less time shopping means more game time. Let's go. Visit instacart.com to get free delivery on your first 3 orders. Offer valid for a limited time. $10 minimum per order. Additional terms apply.
All right, welcome back in, everybody, to Sports Daily. Glad to have you here with us. We are happy to be here. Man, softball, Tommy. So close. So close. What a run. What a generation, I guess, this roster has provided for us. So it was wild and crazy, man. If you didn't see it, so they had all the rain delays Friday. So the Nebraska game actually moved over to ESPN Plus, but that one they were down 5-0. We left the air after the delays in our 10 o'clock newscast. I was working Friday night, and they were down 5-0. And by the time I got home, it was like 5-2 or 5-3, and they complete that comeback, and they go up and they get the win 6-5. It was dramatic, exciting. It was like, all right, they finally unlocked. They come back on Saturday. They play Oklahoma State in the winner's bracket game, and they get blanked. Oklahoma State, there were a lot of mistakes or bad fortune for Wichita State. And then they come back and play Nebraska again in an elimination game, and they get up early. Lauren Mills has a couple of bombs, but they kept giving up leads. They went up. They had a couple of runs. They were, I think, 3 runs ahead in the 7th and give up the lead and go to extra innings. Then in the 9th, in extra innings, they get up 2 runs and give up the lead and ultimately the game, and that's how the season ends. And that is a grueling way to end it. I'm not sure, though, even if they got the win against Nebraska, I'm not sure that they were hitting the way they needed to be hitting in general to go beat Oklahoma twice in a row. So, the ultimate outcome may be similar. It sucks that it ended that way, but they were exciting games, man. They were really, really good, and it was a team that, gave us a lot this year, and disappointing end, but looking back, and ultimately wildly successful season again as Wichita State comes away with 44 wins on the year and begins the stages of upgrading facilities and things, and the future is bright. But Sydney McKinney, who, one of the best players in the world, man.
End of an era with Sydney McKinney. Yeah, I mean, look, like that regional was so exciting. I'll tell you one thing. Even though Wichita State didn't make it to the championship game, they certainly were entertaining throughout the entire regional. That opening game against Nebraska was a ton of fun to watch. And then, of course, going back and playing Nebraska again, that's really hard to do, beat a team like that, a couple times in a row. They didn't have their best stuff against Oklahoma State, and so ultimately it didn't work out for them. And that was one of the big fears, right? And that's always been the Achilles heel of this current roster for Wichita State is, not quite being at the level to host a regional, and then knowing that you're going to have to go to either Norman, Stillwater, or Fayetteville. And all 3 of those, locations are really, really, really difficult. And, I think that when you're looking back on this era of Shocker softball, and they're not done, by the way, right? Like they've got great returners, and Allison Barnard's going to be back. They've got some really good pitching that's coming back. Alex Aguilar was great, in her freshman year, and they've got some really good hitters that are coming back and returning. So they've got a lot of firepower returning, to this team next season. But this particular era with Sydney McKinney, who is the best softball player on the planet, I think that's ultimately, they're fun, they're entertaining, they're exciting to watch. Could never really get over that hump to be considered one of the elite teams in the country in college softball.
Yeah, it's tough. I think that the future with Sydney McKinney is, again, a number 1 draft pick. To me, the most famous and, recognizable and influential athlete since Ron and Fred at Wichita State. And that's considering they've had like some NBA guys come through. But when you're talking about like investment in the community and all that stuff, and time spent, which is also a factor. But it's not just Sydney McKinney that they're losing. They're losing Lauren Mills, who had a couple of bombs in that game, who's been one of the most
Jones.
enjoyable players in Zoe Jones. Yeah. So, it's tough. It's going to be, they're going to have to, but we've seen now some really young players play really well for them. And, moving forward, Addie Barnard's going to be, sort of the banner carrier for that. And they'll be fine. And, they've done such a great job in those facilities. And I think once the facilities get there, it really just becomes, can you continue to grow? There's no reason to think that they can't. It is always unnerving to lose, the kind of talent that they're going to lose this season, but it'll be fine. And they'll be okay, and they'll retool and reload and do all those things. And they've actually done a really nice job in the portal. So they're building a reputation, which matters when it comes to the portal. Wichita State baseball, and you'll hear these games here with us on KFH, begins the postseason tomorrow. And they will play Memphis, and they get it done. They'll play the last game of the day. It's a scheduled, basically it's 47 minutes after the 3 o'clock game. They don't even try to give you a game time. So you're talking, it's going to be 7:30 probably if things go on time. And they'll open against Memphis. Just looking against Memphis, they took 2 of 3 against Memphis in Wichita this regular season. So take anything from that if you'd like. In the postseason, it becomes a question of pitching and, how does that all line up, and teams are all scrambling a bit. And I think that's what we like about Wichita State, right? Like that's one thing in this postseason that we feel like Wichita State, can have some success with is pitching and the depth there. They've got, Peyton Tolley, Grant Adler, have thrown tons of innings for them, and Clark Candiotti. Is it just those 3? Do they need to pitch a bullpen game? I don't know. And I think that you just line them up that way, Adler, Tolley, Candiotti, which is, sort of been the success. I don't know how you do that. That's all strategic, and in conference tournaments, it gets really interesting. But what we do know is they got to win it, right? They've got to win the conference tournament to get through. So these will be as highly anticipated, I think, Shocker baseball games as we've had in a while, because it feels like they can win it.
Yeah.
We always know that's the path in recent years, but this year it feels like they have a decent shot. They swept East Carolina. They can win this thing. I mean, it's that simple.
The path is right there for them. It really is. It's clear as day. They know exactly the objective. They know exactly what they have to do in the conference tournament to make it to the postseason, and that's win the dang thing, right? They've got the hitting to do it. They've got the pitching to do it. We've seen them have a high level of success against really, really good baseball teams earlier this season. And, oh, by the way, they had a really good weekend series against UCF to wrap up the regular season over the weekend. So the momentum is there. They've got that they're playing like they could win a conference championship, a conference tournament championship. The question becomes, can they sustain it throughout the entire tournament? And so it gets going tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. But I certainly think that, this is not a situation where, you're like, oh, it'd be great if they could catch fire and maybe it'll happen. No, I think that they literally have the talent and the coaching and the roster to be able to get it done.
Yeah, I do too. We'll see. We'll hear those games with us here. It'll be fun. I'm excited about it. And Mike Kennedy will have the call. It was good to talk to them on, what was that, Friday. They had a wacky, by the way, they played games. They just needed one to clinch that 3 seed. They got it in the second game, and then they didn't really have anything else to play for other than Pride, which, of course, you always play for Pride. But that's what's on the table now. So we turn our attention then to Wichita State baseball this week, and then you've got track and field, and they will begin theirs as well to the West preliminaries. So that's also there, and those begin on Wednesday, and that gets a little trickier to follow, but those come on Wednesday through the weekend into Saturday, and then if anybody makes it through, you get the outdoor championships later this month. All right, we're going to come back. We're going to wrap this up for a Monday edition of Sports Daily. Albrecht and Caster, don't go away.